Hi, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining our wine tasting. We're settling in still. So while we're settling in, just go ahead and get your glasses and your bubbles ready. We'll be right with you to start the show. Thanks again. Okay, guys, I think we're all set. We want to welcome you. My name is Erin Dallin Cabway. I'm the Chief Development Officer at CETA. I've been joined by my lovely husband, Mofia. We're so excited for our first annual wine tasting celebrating our 55-year anniversary. As you're settling in, feel free to open your bubbles, get your glasses out, we're ready, and sit back and enjoy. We are so excited for tonight. Clearly this year has given us grapes, but CETA is resilient. So we know when life gives you grapes, you make wine, right? Sounds good to me. So thank you all for joining us. We couldn't be more thankful that each and every one of you are here tonight. We appreciate you so much. Now let's get this party going. I'm going to toss it over to someone who actually needs no introduction at all. The beautiful, kind soul, Leanne Trotter from NBC5 Entertainment Reporter. Cheers, Leanne.
Cheers to you, Erin. And hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. So excited to be with you. And I am a longtime supporter of CETA, and that organization does such great work. And my dear friend Harold Rice, well, he is a force to be reckoned with, and he means so much to this community, and he does so much for the community. So Harold, I want to say thank you for all you do, and your team. You all are fantastic, which is why I wanted to be here today. So CETA is an amazing organization that helps more than 300,000 people in the Chicagoland area every year. And when you think about 55 years, they've literally saved millions of lives. Their mission to end poverty is something desperately needed as the global pandemic and the economic crisis push so many of our families, friends, and neighbors into dire situations. So from the bottom of my heart, I would like to say thank you for the work that you do to save and support our community. It's very much needed and very worth it. Now, just a little housekeeping to do. First of all, the best viewing of this event is either on your laptop, your tablet, or a smart TV. And while we're here to sip some beautiful wines, we are also here to celebrate and make an impact in the community. So we know that we will be hoping that you will donate throughout the night, and we will make sure that we let you know how the donations are going throughout the night. So there you have that. All right. I hope that you all are going to be interactive, talking to me and talking to your friends and your CETA family. You'll be able to do that by dropping questions into the Q&A, and we'll collect those and we'll ask our wonderful sommeliers. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky, along with tasting some gorgeous wines, which I can't wait. I don't know about you, I took a little sip already, but we will meet our friends at Wine Insiders, and we're gonna learn from two very handsome sommeliers. We have Ferdy Mucciarino. He was voted Best Wine Director by Wine Enthusiasts in 2019. He is a Court of Sommelier certified sommelier. Originally from Naples, Italy, Fernando, or Ferdy, lives and works in California. He's a wine director for Rustic Canyon, a Michelin one-star restaurant ranked as one of the top 100 bars in America by Wine Enthusiasts. Previously, Fernando lent his expertise to A16 and in San Francisco, a restaurant recognized with a James Beard Award for its outstanding wine program. I'm so happy you're with us, Ferdy. And we have Fernando Potato. He is one of 236 master sommeliers in the world. He's a native of Guatemala and has worked in the hotel industries around the globe. He also speaks 4 languages. Wow, that's so impressive. He was on Crain's Chicago Business and Wine Enthusiast list of 40, under 40, and he was named Guatemala's Person of the Year in 2009 within the hospitality and restaurant industry. He co-founded a wine distributor called Tenzing Wine and Spirits in 2010, and now he is partner in Connoisseur Wines right here in Chicago. So, Fernando, Ferdy, we ready to kick things off? Erin, you guys ready?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that introduction.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
cheers to all of you. Cheers to everybody on the call. Happy 55th anniversary. It's such an honor to be joining you. Ferdy and I, we taste wine a lot, and so please have a sip and taste. So don't wait for me. All right?
Awesome. I was stealing a few little sips.
Can't have a wine
myself.
tasting and expect this long toast. I'm not the best man. I'm not going to come up with jokes. Everyone, you should have the bottle open, have the white, have the red, pour them as you like. We're going to start with the sparkling, have the white, then the red. But, I always say in these tastings, it's nice that if you have 3 glasses, have them side by side. We're going to talk a little bit about them, talk about the regions, the countries. So please include your questions in the chat, or, have them ready. Any question. This is a safe space, I call it, because you can ask anything about wine. And this one is kind of one that sort of comes up a lot about sparkling wines. So the bottle, it says Prosecco. Prosecco is a place. It's also a style, just like Champagne is a place and it's a style. It is a rosé. So very easily, this is made from white and red grapes. And the grapes are from native to Italy. So this has a great story. It's on the label. Actually, when you see the bottle, there's a little heart. And then it says, can't read it anymore, from the land of Romeo and Juliet, because Romeo and Juliet was sort of inspired by the poems in Shakespeare in the city of Verona. And Verona's in the northern part of Italy. And it's gorgeous there. There's a little balcony that you can go visit. If you've traveled to Italy and been to Verona, you'll see it there. And people go and they leave their love letters. And so it's a very beautiful, romantic place. But the region that you would be in Italy is called Veneto. And so Veneto grows a lot of different grapes, a lot of indigenous grapes there that you usually don't put on a label. So it's like, Corvina, Molinara, you see grapes like Garganega. I mean, they're difficult to pronounce. However, there was a sparkling wine and people started called Prosecco, but that's actually not the name of the grape. It's called Glera. But the region became widely popular because their sparkling wines offer so much value, so much texture. It's a great alternative to other sparkling wines like Champagne or Moscato, or maybe you've had something from domestic wines. I mean, you can basically make sparkling out of any grape, any region, any wine. But what's unique here is the hills, the elevation, and just the know-how, right? How to make these wines. So how do you make sparkling wines? You basically start making with normal still wine, and you typically add a little bit more sugar in the fermentation process to get those bubbles kind of going. And I call them little burps, so you can tend to see them. And in this case, Prosecco doesn't spend a lot of time in a bottle like Champagne. It will get usually put in a tank, get that fermentation to really trap the aroma. So let's smell this together. You really, what I say is just think of 3 things, and Ferdy's going to talk about it, but when I think of Prosecco, I'm thinking of a place. But he's more versed on the aromas because he's actually Italian, and he should give you like the classic things. Because if I told you the flavors, I'm really talking about my home country, Guatemala, and we don't have the same fruits and vegetables.
So I'm loving this wine already. There's 2 things that I love. I love rosé and bubbles, and having like a sparkling rosé. That to me, that's a win-win situation. And I love that you mentioned that the label says from the land of Romeo and Juliet, because there is a very known fact. So Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet loosely based on an actual couple that lived in the 1300s. So Romeo and Juliet belonged to 2 different families, and they were rivals. But would
Leonardo DiCaprio was one of them. Is that his real name?
Exactly. And then I forgot the name of the female actress, but the 2 castles really existed, and Juliet lived in the city of Verona and Romeo lived outside of the city. And in between the 2 castles, there were lots of vineyards, and some of those vineyards are still standing today. And because Romeo secretly went to visit Juliet, he must have walked through these vineyards. So it's lovely that we have represented on a bottle of wine today. So let's see, I love this wine for many reasons. I love the fact that rosé is such a popular, that Prosecco is such a popular, easy to drink, everyday kind of bubbles. When you smell it, this doesn't smell like your typical white Prosecco. which is very citrusy. This one is some of the nuances that you'll find in a red wine and in a rosé especially. So you get more of that strawberry, that peaches and cream. The aromas are so fruity and inviting. You just want to take your first big gulp. So let's take another one together. Oh, I notice how the bubbles are just a little bit more than a beer will be and a little less than a soda. So it's right in between. They're firm, they're tight, they're not overpowering your palate. The wine leaves you with the nice coating of sweetness and tartness. It's almost like a little bit of lime squirted over strawberries, and I'm loving it. So you could think of so many things to pair with this wine. It pairs with a wide range of foods. But for me, this is a classic aperitif wine. This is the wine that you want to serve to your friends. As soon as they walk through the door, put a glass of Prosecco in their hands, start drinking. It stimulates your appetite. But if you're having it with food, then I would say this is the perfect wine for creamy cheeses or fresh cheeses like Chèvre or any goat cheese, fruit salads, cheese and meat plates. Perfect for any kind of aperitif or appetizer styles. And
Freddie, when I went to Verona, they made a risotto with Prosecco, risotto al Prosecco. And then that with, so they give like, the creamy cheese and the rice, which has a lot of like, the carbs, and then this just kind of like cuts right through that. And it was fun.
Absolutely. And always cook with whatever you're drinking. So if a bottle of wine is good for you, that you like to drink it, cook with it too. Don't buy a wine just for cooking. That's not right. So, risotto al Prosecco. You can Google that recipe. It's a fantastic recipe.
Yeah. So if anyone's curious about the grapes, it's a Pinot Noir and Glera. So they took the white grapes that normally doesn't give the color. The Pinot Noir, the red grape, is what gives it this beautiful color. How can you describe the color in rosés? I mean, you can go from like a pale pink to a deep cherry. You can also call it like a salmon color. If you want to sound really fancy, call it like a Vidalia onion skin or something. Like you see these Spanish onions. So there's a lot of colors in the palette of rosés. Kind of varies a lot. And this is a new category for Prosecco. So it's a very young wine. But, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they didn't allow Prosecco to make rosé. So it's a very demand. It's in demand. So that's why we have it.
What do you think of this wine, Leanne?
I love it. Prosecco is one of my favorite things. I could drink this every day. And this particular brand is very tasty.
Cheers.
Yep.
Cheers. Aaron?
Well,
I love that you're drinking from a coupe glass. So classy and beautiful.
That's a great. So there's a little bit of trivia. The origin of the sparkling wines was sort of an accident. They didn't know that you were going to get bubbles, and then they would typically be served in a regular glass like this or a coupe, which is fancy. But the flutes weren't really invented until less than 100 years ago. The glass making was just not easy, but they decided to make these really long glasses so that you could see the stream of bubbles a lot longer. But the opening at the top of a flute is very narrow. So if you're seeing, Ferdy and me drinking out of this style of glass, it's just because we really like. Well, I have a big nose, right? So I gotta stick it in there.
Me too.
And like I gotta smell it, and then a lot of so you might find that it's not being pretentious or anything. I have flutes. I use them when we need to do a toast, but it's okay to taste it. Bubbles don't really have to express the quality of the wine, but usually the finer the bubble, the better the quality. If it, like Ferdy said, if it's like carbonated, it's usually a little bit lower. So in this case, it's a very soft mousse, and I think that's kind of key learning thing about the quality of wines.
All right.
Well, I have to say, we're feeling very romantic over here with this. These were actually our toasting glasses for our wedding. And I've been to Verona. I know that feel. Actually, one of my friends joining us tonight, Theodore and I went to Verona for a day trip, and it was the first day of Carnival. So we had the most amazing experience. And if you haven't been, it's a great place to go and try that risotto and some more wine.
Beautiful.
For sure. Yeah.
We do have one question that says, how long should the Prosecco be chilled prior to serving?
I like it very cold. I like sparkling. I like Prosecco to be very cold. So refrigerator temperature, not over 45 degrees, like anything below 45 and not between 40, 45.
Yeah, so in order to achieve that, like the question about the time, you need to have actually sparkling wine, champagne, anything, maybe even 2 to 4 hours, because the pressure in the bottle is more intense when the wine is warmer. And often in a restaurant, I worked in a restaurant just like for many years. If you had a room temperature sparkling and then you had to chill it, most of the time the pressure would just not be ready, and you'd pop the cork and you have like this almost a grenade, just like explosion of pressure, because we chill it too quickly. So there's no kind of getting around putting it in the freezer or putting it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes or even on ice. And if you have time, put it in, 4 or 5 hours before you're going to drink it, just to get it to that temperature without having the cork kind of like shoot out at you.
And in that case, always remember, place your thumb on the cork as you're pulling it out and away from your face and from your guest's face, especially if it's not very cold.
Yeah.
It is a projectile. You can get hurt.
And very good information. Why don't we do our toast now? Erin?
Yeah. Well, tonight is a joyous occasion. So let's take a moment to reflect on the many blessings our CETA family has received this past year. One of the main things we've been blessed with is a new annoying saying of, you're on mute. So there's that. But there's been a lot of amazing moments this past year. Obviously, it's also been challenging in many ways, but we couldn't be more thankful for our friends like you who've been by our side as we stayed the course. We have a special note from a client of ours who reached out to us earlier this year that I wanted to share with you. His name is Cornelius. He and his wife, Denise Doles, shared this. So CETA was there when me and my family needed it most. Our story is like so many others. For us, our daughter was born with cerebral palsy and required a lot of support. We struggled to keep up with mounting bills and medical costs. Then Denise lost her job because she was needing to take care of our daughter. As a father who loves his family, it was a very scary time. Late payments, shutoffs, and finally, a foreclosure notice led him to CETA. CETA kept the water and lights on. Not only did they pay our bills, but they lowered our monthly bills and took that real fear of shutoffs out of our mind. It may not seem like a big deal, but for us, it was the difference we needed. It was the difference between our daughter having medical care or not. And we could care for our daughter and not be afraid that we would lose our home. We are so grateful to CETA for saving our family. My family and I want to thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for making this possible. And we hope we can pay it forward someday soon. Thank you. From me and my family, Cornelius. So with that in mind, this is why we're here tonight, guys. To celebrate Cornelius, Denise, and their family, but also the millions of lives we changed because of you. So with that, I ask you all to take a moment just to raise your glasses one more time for a toast to you, all of you on the call tonight. You mean the world to us, and there's no way we could do what we do every day without you. Cheers. Cheers.
That's awesome. So before we sip into our next wine, we're trying to raise $1,000 with this rosé. Where are we at now? We're at 1,200. We want to get to 2,000. We're at 1,260. We want to get to 2,000. So if anybody would like to make a donation, that would be awesome. We really would like to try to make 2,000 with this rosé. And by the way, thank you all for joining us, because you could be anywhere tonight. We just appreciate that you're with us and celebrating 55 years. Woohoo! All right. shall we introduce the white?
Please, Ferdy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We should taste this wine because we have a white wine from South Africa. And maybe a lot of people on the call have never tasted a wine from South Africa. So I think it's appropriate to start with a little background overview of South Africa. The world of wine is divided into two big categories: Old World and New World. When they say Old World wine, what they mean is wines that come from places that have thousands of years of history. So this is Europe, the Middle East, North Africa. This is the Old World. They make wines following traditions that started with the Phoenicians and the Romans. And everything else is the New World. But when it comes to wine, South Africa is not the new kid on the block. So South Africa has been making wine since the 1600s. And it all started with the Dutch. So the Dutch were, at the time, the Dutch trading company. It was the biggest navy force in the world. And they were going all over the world for tradings, and especially in the Indies. So they decided that the tip of South Africa was the ideal place for a refreshment station. And a commander, his name was Jan van der Rijk. He was in charge of settling this refreshment station, and he decided to plant grapes. And not because he was a lover of wine. It's actually really funny. Wine at the time was considered to be a cure for scurvy. So he planted grapes there, and this was back in 1652. And then 10 years later, almost in 1659, he had his first harvest and he made his first wine. And he was a meticulous note taker. So there's actually like records of him writing, like, okay, we made this wine. It's a white blend and it tastes terrible. It was his first time attempting and making wine. But what we know is that they planted grapes that they brought along from France. And one of these grapes was Chenin Blanc. And this is what we're tasting tonight. This is a grape that in South Africa is the most popular white grape varietal. It's called Chenin Blanc, and it originated in the Loire Valley in France. So in South Africa, by mistake, they call it Steen. Now they understood what they are making, so they call it Chenin Blanc. Now it's official Chenin Blanc on labels, but for a very long time it was called Steen. And it's a very interesting grape because it's a grape that is, it's very versatile. In France, is used for a wide range of styles. You could find that it's a dry white. You can find it in sparkling version. You can find it in very sweet dessert wines because it's a grape that not only it can achieve great sugar content, so it could create like some very dense and sugary wines, but it's also a grape with a lot of acid. And that's an important component in white wine. It determines the ageability of a wine, the versatility with food pairings. So now this wine is made by a producer, a winemaker called Alex Dale. That's why it's called Radford Dale. And if you notice on the neck of your bottle, it says certified integrity and sustainability. This winemaker, his main focus is sustainability, biodynamic farming, organic grapes. So for all of you there that are more environmentally conscious when it comes to your wine of choices, this is a great wine for that. And it really speaks of the terroir. And I feel like Fernando is going to tell us all about the taste of this wine. But one last thing that I wanted to say is that if you are a lover of European wines, or if you're a lover of South American, Californian wines, South African wines are that right in between. So that could be your gateway switching from New World to Old World or the other way around. So for the best part, let's taste it with Fernando. Cheers.
Thank you on the history lesson, Ferdy. I love hearing about like what the wine comes from and what's there. Like, and a lot of people don't really know all the wine regions of South Africa, but they are, increasing in all kinds of whites, reds, sparklings, like you mentioned, and Chenin is really unique there. So as I'm sure you've tried the wine. This is fantastic on the nose. It's brilliant, but a little bit of like learning about wine and how to taste. When you look at the color of a white wine, we talked about the rosé, is that white wines get a little bit darker as they age. Red wines get lighter. So you could guess sort of the aging. What happens is the wines oxidize. They start to get a little bit more brown or golden, or maybe hints of like this yellow. So this has already like a pretty unique color. It's kind of on that like deeper yellow. Then on the nose, I try to remember three things: few, fruit, earth, wood. What fruits? So how do we describe white wines with white fruits? So citrus, apples, you have maybe pears. So it's easy to find aromas. What I really get here is sort of this golden apple, lemon peel, a lot of that citrus notes. Then there's also this interesting note, like what is that? If you ask, I would like ask everyone, what is that note? To me, it's like like dry hay or a peanut shell or some other note, macadamia nut. This other world of like, what it has this toastiness to it that is quite unique, making it feel like it's an old world wine. There's a little bit of wood, but very, very little. It's only about 30%.
Can I ask a question?
Oh yes,
Go ahead.
please.
I know you all are telling all us, I have how do I say this? You say, what do you taste? I never taste those flavors that you all mentioned. Like, I can't taste the apple or, it's either I like it or I don't.
Okay.
And that's the best way. And that's the best way. But do you smell it once Fernando starts saying it?
Nope,
You don't.
I don't, it doesn't come out like, I can't dissect the different flavors. I can tell if it's too bitter or if it's too sweet, but.
So I love that kind of discussion, Leanne, because in a way, like we didn't invent this vocabulary of wine. It's kind of universal. Like you can find citrus or orchard fruit, and some of them are actually very related, like mint or eucalyptus that you have in Australia. The wines from there, the grapes there, kind of smell like eucalyptus. I mean, you can do a lab test and find that menthol note. So it's not like we're going, oh, I find menthol. Now, if I was describing something maybe a little bit out with it, like, hey, I get blueberries in this, I'd be like, I would kind of, I'm not with you. It's not common to find a blueberry in a white wine. But we use that vocabulary to sort of be able to, let's talk about how that wine tastes. When you put it in your mouth, it's tart and you have this acidity, like your mouth's watering. Well, that's what an apple does to me, a green apple. That's what lemon does, right? It's not sweet. So if it were sweet, I would be saying things like, honey, marmalades, orange, things that reflect. So if I'm selling you a wine, that's what we do as sommeliers. I'm trying to make a recommendation. I go, this wine's going to be tart, it's going to be dry, it's going to be light. So I can talk about how it's going to feel in your palate, but just give you a few, relatable fruits. So if you're like, I don't want pineapple, banana, mango, exotic stuff. It's not my taste. I can just, whenever in doubt, I just mumble. I gotta try this one. It's like beautiful. And you're like, what did you say? It tastes like flowers. And then you may go, okay, it's not what I ordered. But however, we do understand, like, describing a wine is just as hard as describing coffee and whiskeys and beers. So often we just kind of practice, right?
Yeah.
Freddie, I'm sure I go into the supermarket and I pick up things.
Smell things. Yes, you smell when you become a sommelier. And I was this way as a child too. I love to smell. So I have a pretty good memory bank of flavors. But when I say like I smell, for example, like one of the Shannon technical aromas is wet wool, but you don't get to smell that often. So when I was learning about wine, I actually did grab a wool sweater, dipped it in water, and then started smelling it and see if I could compare the two smells. And you do train yourself in smelling. But I do have one little secret, and I learned that actually because I have a beagle, and a beagle is a dog that's so obsessed with smelling things. And I learned that we, just like also like animals, most of our receptors are at the tip of your nose. So when you take a big smell, like the smell dissipates and you lose it. If you take quick repetitive smells like a dog does, like you will understand more and you will smell the difference. Like if you do one big one, right? It's not the same as taking like quick repetitive ones.
Okay. I'm gonna stop you all right now because I'm so excited. I can't even stop myself. Do you see the total?
Oh, yes.
$4,070. Oh my goodness, everybody is, okay, let me just call off a few names here. Let's see, we have John Patty donating $500, Marianne Herman, 55, Stephanie Blanco, 55, Harold Rice, 500, Tony Antonellis, 250. Oh my God, Nick and Megan Horace, $100, Mofia Kabwe, 550. I mean, you guys, we are so, this is so fantastic. Thank you, thank you. In case you wonder, you can pledge to Age to Perfection 2021. Keep it coming. We just want to keep it going. And we have a couple questions for you guys. What types of glasses go best with these styles of wine?
You know, with glassware, you don't have to overthink it. I buy one set, and these are my sort of favorite. Just important is the stem. Is great. Stemless. You know, you make the wine warmer by holding it. You want to have thin. I like to have thin glasses. Doesn't have to be crystal, but that does also accent a little bit more the aromas. And typically, you know, cold serving wines are better in a tighter flute. If you want the wine to open up and get warmer, then you get a bigger glass. So you can serve a red wine in a small glass and vice versa, but you know, historically, and different grapes have different aromatics. So buy yourself a nice set of glasses with not a lot of, you know, decor on them. And rule of thumb, don't wash your glasses after a big dinner party. Clean everything up, keep the glasses, and wash them by hand the next day. Because I start washing them and I break every glass because and so they'll put them in the dishwasher and I break 4 of them. So I'm like, just the next day, I tell my wife, I'll just clean them, you know, wake up and then I see the damage.
What type of cheese does this wine pair best with?
Well, Chenin is classic in the Loire Valley where there's a lot of sheep. And so it's many of the sheeps and goats. So with white wines, think of Feta, Manchego, think of Chef, you know, the little logs, anything that's very white and tart and acidic. You can, of course, have this with like aged cheese, like cheddar or Parmesan. However, if you have something like a blue cheese or Gorgonzola or something that's too aggressive or a lot of like may overpower the wine. So just thinking of balance, think of, you know, not overpowering a white wine, but think of something hard or fresh. This would be great with that.
I would say also nutty cheeses like Gruyere. If you smell this wine, it is kind of nutty in a way. It is.
That's a good
Does
call.
smell like-
Peanuts and stuff. That's exactly. So something from the Alps. You know, these alpine cheeses.
Taleggio.
Yes.
Here's another question. What do legs on wine? What is that? What does that mean? I've never even heard of that.
It means it can run away really fast.
You mean because you're drinking it?
No, the legs in the wine, like if you ever read, especially, you would notice this a little bit more. If you tilt your wine glass this way and you see this streaking coming down, it shows you the alcohol content levels of a wine, if there's more or less alcohol. It is not an indication of good quality wines. So it is, to me, it's more, and I don't know if you agree with me, Fernando, but to me, the legs in a wine, the legs description is more a myth than an actual fact. Like it does not reflect on, oh, this wine is great, has great legs, so it's quality wine. Because you can have a wine that's over 15% alcohol and see, not only you will see the legs, but it will be colored with the staining of the wine. That does not imply that the wine is better quality. What do you think, Fernando?
You know, you can call them legs or tiers. We started using tiering as a word, and then also or viscosity. But
What does that mean?
The viscosity, the consistent sort of like there's water sheets really quickly, but alcohol and sugar sort of evaporates and then goes to the top of the glass. If you don't see it with the red wine, or a way to do is I blow, I put it on the side of the glass and then I blow really hard into the side of the glass, and then you'll see these tears because that's the remaining alcohol or sugar. Like if you pour something like a cough syrup or a whiskey, you tend to see them. Just a little blow, and then you'll see how it sort of looks a little.
That's somebody blowing?
Somebody was trying that.
Well, I just want to clarify something. You talked about the stemless glasses that warms when you're holding it, it warms it up. So are you against stemless?
No, I was at a restaurant last night, and that's all they had. They look fine. The practicality this is a funny looking thing, right? You got the base, you got this long thing, and then a glass at the top. If you were inventing some vessel to drink out of, this would be the dumbest thing to do. However, when we've learned that if I want to see the wine, I hold it by the stem. And so I can see it if I don't want my fingerprints to get all over the glass, and if I don't want to hold it like this and keep it warm. So whatever it was, a couple, centuries ago, somebody's like, I want to make this beautiful thingamajig to look like that. And wine is kind of intimidating, but so is beer. Beer also, they went from having glasses to having stems, and certain beers now are served in glasses very similar to wine because you're not supposed to warm them up, or you're supposed to appreciate the color. So not against any of it. That's just the reason.
Another question. What is your favorite budget-friendly wine brand?
Oh, I have so many, but I can suggest going on wineinsiders.com. And if you're on a budget and you're looking for wines that come from places that the family that's making the wine, that the wine is made following the benchmark characteristics of each grapes that it's used, then I'll suggest that. I have a go-to grape. I do like Chenin Blanc is actually one of my favorites. I always look for Chenin Blanc when I'm in a restaurant menu. I always look for Chenin Blanc. When it comes to reds, I look for wines that are, unless there's something I recognize, then I'm always curious to try Pinot Noir. It's one of my favorite grape. But my first suggestion would be to go on Wine Insiders and find budget-friendly wines there.
Okay, good to know. So before we enjoy our final wine tasting this evening, I want to tell you a couple things. Let's see. Well, let's welcome in Harold Rice, President and CEO, to share a few words with us. Harold? You gotta unmute
Oh,
yourself.
this mute button, I tell you. Thank you. Thank you, Leanne. I love you. You're great. Wow. What an amazing evening. I was just blown away by the energy, the excitement, and CEDA is here for families and individuals. We're here to help keep people in our community safe and secure. Over the past 55 years, we've helped millions of people with our life-changing programs, but never in our history have we ever seen what we see now. This pandemic turned a spotlight on the issues those in poverty have been facing for decades. Racial and social injustice are only some of the reasons 15% or 750,000 people are living in poverty right here in Cook County. Because CEDA works side by side with our low-income neighbors to help move them out of poverty, we know we need to be focused on the most vulnerable to help rebuild these communities. I know we can rebuild together and make Chicagoland stronger than it's ever been before. That means we have to protect everyone, specifically Black and brown women, the largest group living in poverty right now. We have to remove barriers and simplify access to our programs for seniors and disabled. We have to stop more of our youth from slipping into poverty. The education loss from this year alone has been sad and devastating. That's why this week we launched our Green Generation Workforce Development Initiative. No longer should a low-income area zip code determine one's future outcome. This initiative is going to create opportunities for female and male high school freshmen to join our 4-year program to gain skills and knowledge, leading them to fair paying jobs and a career. Ending the systemic poverty is going to take more than innovative thinking and unrestricted investments. As such, we are actively pursuing affordable housing goals, looking to assist returning citizens and streamlining the ways our clients can navigate finding assistance. In times like these, it's a little difficult to celebrate when there's so much more work to do. That's why I want to take this opportunity and this moment to simply celebrate all of you who supported this event, including my staff, my board of directors, donors, partners, clients, friends, and especially our mistress, our master sommeliers, Ferdy and Fernando. I just want to thank you guys for educating me and educating everyone. And a special thanks to my beautiful friend, Leanne Trotter of NBC5. Thank you for accepting my invitation on being our mistress of ceremony tonight. Thank you for being an amazing part of our CEDA family, a community of individuals committed to rebuilding together stronger. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harold. Thank you so much. Well, I'm excited because the total now of donations, 4,330. So let's beat our goal of 5,500. Can we get 6,000? Come on now, come on now. I want to say
We can get there when we start drinking that red. I think
what's
we can
that?
get there. I believe we can get there. When we finish that red, everybody should, pocketbook should come out.
Pocketbook should come out.
Do it.
You want to start with the red now?
I've been anxious. I've been, amazed by the outpour and the support of everybody. And this is what we're coming together for. I love talking and sharing, wine. It brings people together. It's a common thing. We talk about culture. History. Freddie was relating. I study that too because I love learning about where these wines come from and traveling. Been very fortunate, everybody, to be born in Central America. And I am in actually Chicago. I'm in Logan Square. I've been living here for 20 years. I love the community. And I wouldn't have become a master sommelier if I didn't live here because there's so many different cultures, so many different wines come to the Midwest. And one of the regions that I grew up with, coming from Latin America, was Chilean wine. Chilean, Argentine, Spanish. Very easy because of the language. It's Spanish. So this third wine that we're having is called Pajarito. Pajarito Gran Reserva means little bird, right? It's a wine from the country of Chile, from the river Maule Valley. And so this is just about 200 miles or so, kilometers, where we want to go. It's a 4-hour drive from Santiago, the capital city. And what's really unique about Chile is that it's a very long country. It's on the coast with the Pacific Ocean, and there's a cold current that comes from Antarctica, as basically those cold currents of glaciers and ice that melt brings the stream that travels all the way up along the back of the continent. And so you're able to grow cool climate grapes. What does that mean? This is Pinot Noir. So the grape Pinot Noir we heard before with the first wine, the Prosecco. Pinot meaning black, Pinot meaning pine, and Noir is black. So it looks like a little black pine cone, originally from France. So the first colonizers, the first travelers brought a lot of French, Italian, Spanish grapes, and they, plant them in places in the New World. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. In fact, in this part of the world, Pinot Noir does really well because it's very, very similar to the climate you'll have in Europe, very similar to France. And Chile, I've been fortunate to visit there. What you have is beautiful Andes mountains, right, covered with snow. And not too far away, you have the Pacific. You can have the beach and you could be skiing basically on water skis or on snow skis in the same day because they're so close together. And a lot of the valleys of the runoffs of these mountains is where they would name the appellations, or where the grapes grow and perfect. So Pinot Noir, very unique. It's a grape that grows everywhere. California, Oregon. You've probably heard Pinot Noir from other regions. Learning about wine is kind of start with like, do I like wines of Chile? Do I like California wine? Or do I like these grapes? I love Pinot Noir, no matter where it's from, because it's a very unique grape. Ferdy will talk a bit about like how it smells and tastes, but I really love Chile in general because they make fantastic Cabernet Sauvignon, another red grape. Merlot is very good there. They have a grape called Carmenere. Probably like I've heard people say, I love Chilean Carmenere. It does well there. And there's Sauvignon Blanc. So a lot of different things to try from them. Right? This is gorgeous. Pretty like, what's your?
Oh, it's amazing, and it's it says Gran Reserva, and what does that mean is that the wine spent a little bit more time aging on oak, and this is a 6 months oak aging, and it's a combination of old oak and new oak, which means a new barrel first and then a used barrel for a little bit more, which imparts flavors that you're probably going to smell as soon as you start smelling the wine. So if you smell it, you get that vanilla, you get a little bit of that bourbon quality, that butterscotch. What I love about Pinot Noir, and I couldn't agree with you more, Fernando, I love Pinot Noirs from all over the world, the Italian Pinots, French Pinots, California, South America, and Chile is probably one of my newest discoveries as far as like Pinot Noir, because these Pinots tend to have a great combination of savory notes and fruity notes. So when I smell in this Pinot, I get that black cherry, the red cherry, I get mushrooms, something savory, almost like a soy sauce in a way.
That is,
and I'm loving it.
There's a lot of like when we said soy sauce, there's an umami-ness to it, and that kind of when he says mushroom, I'm thinking of earth. So it doesn't have to be exactly that pinpoint aroma. And when we're doing the exams, and if a sommelier says things that mushroom or soy sauce, I can interpret them as something savory and earthy. Because I totally get that.
Exactly. Umami is the essence of savoriness. So this one combines the two perfectly. So when it comes to pairing, this pairs perfectly with mushrooms. Like just you're matching the flavors completely. So a mushroom risotto, if you're feeling fancy and you have truffles around, shave a little bit of truffles in that risotto. Anything that's grilled. I like Pinot Noir with everything, but I love it with pizza, something that's a little bit more like savory and acidic. Let's say one more thing about Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir has been cultivated for a very long time. This grape was cultivated almost 2,000 years ago. And I call it the godfather of all grapes, because if you like Chardonnay, if you like Syrah, if you like Gamay, if you like Pinot Grigio, if you like Pinot Blanc, they are all either color mutation or direct descendants of Pinot Noir. So thanks to Pinot Noir, we have most of our favorite and our modern day wines comes from Pinot Noir. So one more reason to love this grape. It's a hard grape to grow, very hard. It's finicky, it's susceptible to a whole variety of diseases, but if they still cultivate these grapes for this many years, there's a reason, is that these wines could blow your mind. They're delicious. They have complexity of flavors, different nuances. They showcase the place where they're from in a very beautiful way. They're always a good combination of fruity and savory, but then depending of whether it comes from a cool climate like France or a warmer climate like South America, they're always delicious. They're always fantastic wines.
Guys, we could talk about this for ages. I want to just give some quick shout outs and look at the totals. $5,501. Whoop, 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 whoop.
We made it.
Whoop, whoop. And let me give some thank yous. Tanzel, thank you so much for your $25 and happy birthday. John Patty, okay, let me just say, he has $1,500 today. Oh my goodness. John Patty, thank you so very much. Wow. Sandra, or Sandra, I don't know how you pronounce it. Thank you for your $100. Glenn, $555. Any amount is, whatever you can give is so wonderful. And each and every one of you, thank you so, so much. I mean, Aaron, you gotta come with me here, right?
I am blown away. I'm trying to keep myself together over here. And Leanne, I'm getting a side message of someone saying, okay, they don't think it's just the wine. The mission is blowing them away. So they want to know how they can get more involved. And I have to tell you, this week, when John Patty, our amazing Chief Expansion Officer, partner, leader, launched this youth skills program that Harold mentioned, he had a few students, high school students from the south suburbs, drop out of the program last minute because they had to work this summer to support their family. And so I said, John, how can we make that stop? And he said, I need folks to donate so we can give these kids stipends to keep their families afloat. We are changing the trajectory of these kids' lives, their families' lives. And he's got one of the most unique programs you're ever going to find. So if you want to get more involved in CEDA, I want to take you down to see John and his kids. So I'll be following up with you. I would love, love, love to meet you, to take you down, see what all is happening and how we're changing the course of what's been a really challenging year, but also changing the course for Chicago. Like, we're going to do it, guys. So if you want to get more involved, I'll be following up, but don't hesitate to reach out. And guys, thank you so much. This is mind blowing. I know, like, Harold's sitting there like, what is going on? We are so blown away by everyone's generosity. It's not just the wine. Trust me, this is mind blowing, guys. You are super generous. We couldn't be more thankful.
All right, well, we're going to close out the evening then. Our fabulous sommeliers who have given us so much food for thought. And now I get to drink all these wines by myself. So there you go. But it's truly been an amazing evening. We so appreciate each and every one of you for joining us. For those of you who donated, thank you so very much. We're celebrating 55 years of impact, and your donations will help us have 55 more years of help in the community. How about that? We appreciate every one of you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And finally, let's do one more toast to you. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
And thank you for joining us. Woo! Have a good evening.